Hi, I'm Sarabjit Singh, a certified data scientist from Johns Hopkins University. I'm here to take a session on driving decision making in your business with analytics. InfoPace is a management consulting firm and we help you to build corporate DNA for your data analytics journey of complete life cycle to drive business. Welcome to a smarter world. The world is getting smarter. The evolution can be seen everywhere, and no industry or sector is immune. Let me start with a very unusual business example. Consider an industry as old and well established as fishing. Although human beings have been fishing since the beginning, it wasn't until the 16th century that fishermen had boats capable of going to sea. This advance radically changed the fortune of fishing and made huge profitable catches possible for the first time. The ships would set out for the fishing ground using little more than a compass, a sextant, and some inside knowledge passed down through the generation of fishing families. If they were sailing at night, they would use celestial navigation technique and plot a course by stars in order to arrive at the right vicinity. When the fishermen arrived at fishing ground, they would cast their nets and hope for the best. By late 19th century, fishing had become commercialized. Small fishing boats gave way to massive trawlers with onboard processing capabilities. The discovery of longitudes and latitudes made navigation considerably easier, and in the last few decades, technology has transformed fishing from an art to a science. Modern fishing boats are technology rich, using high tech navigation system and GPS. Often, small sensors are attached to the fish to track where the shoals are at any given time, and sonar is used to pinpoint the density of the shoal and where and when to cast the nets. Modern fishermen know where the fish are. They know where they will be tomorrow and when to cast their nets for the best possible catch of their target fish. Fishing has evolved to become smarter, and it is just one example. Today, the world is smarter in everything from sports performance to healthcare in the home. Even love and parenting is becoming smarter. Smart technology is now widely used in sport to find and recruit talent as well as monitor and improve performance, both for the amateur and professional. It is now possible to get a basketball with over 200 built-in sensors that provide players and coaches with detailed feedback on performance. In tennis, a system called Slam Tracker can record a player's performance. It provides real-time statistics and comprehensive match analytics. IBM has a Slam Tracker predictive analytics tool. But the technology is not just for the professionals. Healthcare is also becoming smarter, and it is set to revolutionize our lives. In a world in which you can see what you are doing to yourself as you go along, the hope is that people will take more personal responsibility for themselves in keeping themselves healthy. So it is almost like we are at day zero of a whole new world of medicine, and what will come out the other end is a far healthier society that's focused on wellness rather than fixing sickness and when it's way too late. The ability to monitor own health heralds a new and exciting frontier. According to ABI research, over the next 5 years, spending on bringing these wearable wireless consumer activity device collected data will grow to 52 million market by 2019. Smarter love. Even something as personal and magical as falling in love is getting smarter. Everyone hopes to find their soulmate, and yet, for many, the research is far from straightforward. Online dating sites like Matches people based on different variables such as personality traits, behavior, beliefs, values, and social skills. Just a story, US digital specialist Amy Webb even took the online data algorithm one step further. After one particularly terrible first date, when her Prince Charming ordered the most expensive item from the menu, enjoyed them, and did a runner after excusing himself for the bathroom. Webb, that is Amy Webb, created her own personal scoring system based on what was important to her in a potential life partner. In addition, she analyzed other profiles to see what attracted attention, tested changes to her own profile to see what made a difference to the number and quality of inquiries, and would only agree to go on a date with someone if he scored above a certain number, and it worked. Amy Webb is now happily married and the couple have a daughter. So all these are just examples of world we are living in and how data is guiding the lives of the people. The marriage of data and technology radically changing our world and making it smarter. Business must become smarter too. So let's see how to make the business smarter. Big data is at the heart of smart revolution. The basic idea behind the phrase big data is that everything we do is increasingly leaving a digital trace of data which we and others can use and analyze to become smarter. The driving force in this brave new world are access to ever increasing volume of data and our ever increasing technological capability to mine that data for commercial insights. But despite the noise around big data, most people still don't really understand it, and very few people know what to do about it. Personally, I don't like the term because it's too simplistic and potentially misleading. Granted, we are now tracking and storing data on everything, so we potentially do have access to large volumes of data, hence the term big data. But the real value is not in the large volume of data, but what we can do about it. The big data in this space, the players in this particular space, including Amazon, Google, Walmart, and Facebook, are already making a splash. Just an example, a leading telecom company is using big data analytics to predict customer satisfaction and potential customer churn based on phone and text pattern as well as social media analytics. The company was able to classify customers into different categories. The analytics showed that people in one specific customer category were much more likely to cancel their contract and move to a competitor. This extremely useful information now help the company closely monitor the satisfaction level of these customers and prioritize action that will prevent them from leaving and keep them happy. focus to reap the rewards. Big data offer business an unparalleled opportunity to extract insight into the behavior of their customer that can in turn transform business results. But just because we can measure, monitor, and access everything doesn't mean we should. Smart roadmap as displayed here can be a right way to build data analytics into corporate DNA. In order to cut through the chaos, confusion, and sheer volume of data that can or does exist, we must therefore start with strategy. Instead of starting with the data, start with your business objective and what you are specifically trying to achieve. This will automatically point you toward questions that you need to answer, which will immediately narrow data requirement into manageable areas. Once you know what you are trying to achieve, you need to work out how you could access that information so you can measure metrics and collect data. So this is how it intend to go. Then next stage is to analyze and discover data which has been collected. Then reporting of the results based on the analysis which has been done. And based on the results, ultimately you can transform your business. So this is the complete smart strategy what we are talking about. And this is a way of roadmap to build the analytics into the corporate DNA. Now to start with strategy. Shorter business starts with strategy. And that's true whether you are a big data giant like Amazon or Google or a small family run corner shop. All roads lead to start with strategy. Whether your business has loads of analysis ready data or doesn't have any data doesn't actually matter that much. It doesn't alter the validity of starting with strategy. Small is beautiful in a big data world. This smart strategy board which has been displayed, the aim of this board is to help you step back and ask what are your strategic information needs. You can identify your information needs if you are not clear about your strategy. Remember that value of data is not the data itself, it's what you do with the data. For data to be useful, you first need to know what data you need. Otherwise, you just get tempted to know everything, and that's not a strategy. Before you even think about the data, you could or should collect your need to work out what smart questions you need to answer by considering each of the various panels from Smart Strategy Board. Each panel provide a blueprint that will trigger smart questions per panel. These questions will then form the basis of your big data analytics strategy. Some examples are the purpose panel, the customer panel, the finance panel, operations panel, resource panel, competition risk panels. So these are just some of the examples which can be used to channelize the various smart questions that you intend to build around these. The purpose panel sets the scene and provides an inspiring framework or overall context regarding your corporate strategy or what your business is aiming for or seeking to achieve. It is primarily an internal document designed to motivate stakeholders and define the key measures of organizational success. As such, it should include your target audience, what products or services you provide to that audience, and what makes your product or service unique. Similarly, say for example the customer panel can prompt you to consider how much you currently know about the customers your strategy is targeting, and what you may need to find out in order to deliver on your strategic objective, and so on for the similar other panels. In fact, the smart questions are the answers. Smart business always start with strategy regardless of size. Instead of starting with the small or the big data you could or should access, start by working out what your business is seeking to achieve. Next is your major metrics and data. Oh, it looks like very confusing situation with so many different terms associated with the data. The basic idea behind the phrase big data is that everything we do in our lives leaves or soon will leave a digital trace which can be used and analyzed. There can be data different types, like for example structured and unstructured data. Um, like the structured data provides most of our current business insights, but is often considered old hat and a bit dull, especially in comparison to its rock star cousin, unstructured data. It is easy to ignore structured data, but that is a mistake, as many big data insights are generated by combining structured and unstructured data. Data that is located in a fixed field within a defined record or file is called structured data. This includes data contained in relation database and spreadsheets. Example of structured data may be the point of sales data, financial data, customer data, and so on. Unstructured data is like popular kids at school. Everyone is talking about them, and they represent the sexy new frontier lauded by big data. It is estimated that 80% of business relevant information originates in unstructured or semi structured data. It represents all the data that can't be so easily slotted into columns, rows, and fields. It is usually text heavy, but may also contain data such as dates, numbers, and facts, or different type of data such as images. Examples of unstructured and semi-structured data include photos and graphic images, videos, websites, text files or documents such as emails, PDF, blogs, social media posts, and so on. Then we have internal and external data, as the name suggests. Whatever the business is having currently, or what they purchase. So everything is the internal data. It includes the private or proprietary data that is collected and owned by the business, where you control access. Examples of internal data like customer feedback, sales data, employer customer survey data, transactional data, customer record data. So all these are basically the internal data. And external data is the infinite array of information that exists outside your business. External data is either public or private. Public data that everyone can obtain, either by collecting it for a fee, or paying a third party for it, or getting a third party to collect it for you. Private data is usually something you would need to source and pay from other business or third-party data supplier. So examples of this external data could be like, for example, weather data, government data such as census, Twitter data, social media profile data, Google Trends or Google Maps. So all these are the part of external data. In fact, data is something that we are generating based on the activities. Data is not being mined from our activities, our conversation, photos and videos, sensors, Internet of Things, and so on. So ultimately, we come basically what we call as 4 V's of the big data. That is volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Volume is relating to the vast amount of data generated every second. Velocity is speed at which the new data is generated and moves around the world. For example, credit card fraud detection tracks millions of transactions for unusual patterns in almost real time. Variety is relating to the increasingly different types of data that is being generated, from financial data to social media feeds, from photos to sensor data, from video footage to say voice recordings, and so on. Veracity is related to the messiness of the data being generated. Just think of Twitter post with hashtags, abbreviations, typos, text language, and colloquial speech. So these are just the variety or the types of the 4 V's of the big data. But ultimately, we don't need big data, we need smart data. So don't worry initially about whether you have access to that data. Just identify the best metrics and data that could help you answer your most pressing questions, which in turn would help you to deliver on your strategic objective. A rule of thumb: start with internal data and structured data, which is usually easier and cheaper to analyze than unstructured or semi-structured data. Then we move on to our uh, next part as part of the SMART series, which is the A, apply analytics. Analytics provide the fifth and perhaps most important V of the big data, that is value. You need to apply analytics so that you turn the data into meaningful business insights that can help you to execute your strategy and improve performance. Analytics provide the fifth and perhaps most important V of big data, value. We can create unprecedented value that can help to shape strategy and inform decision making. Sentiment analysis is where you can assess everything from the words customers or employees use to their tone of voice in order to figure out how happy or unhappy they are. What analytics you apply will depend on the question you are seeking or answers to around your strategic objective. It is very easy to be seduced by some of the really cool analytics capability that currently exist. Don't be led astray. Your job is to find the best, most accessible, and inexpensive technique possible, regardless of how sexy it is. I have listed a few tools and techniques that you would have heard of in relation to big data analytics. Instead of describing each of these, which may be very time consuming or even boring, I invite you to ask for details or any of these and I will try to explain. Okay? So you can see some very unusual names also, which are the techniques or the tools, like for example Python, Hadoop, Hive, Pigs, Spark, MongoDB. Then techniques like random forest, decision tree. All these are part of the machine learning and the predictive analytics. The heart of everything is basically statistical techniques. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the smart strategy, that is R, report results. Unless the results are presented to the right people in a meaningful way, the size of the data sets or the sophistication of the analytics tool won't really matter, and the result will not inform decision making and improve performance. Of course, big data and analytics are far sexier than humble reporting. Thankfully, reporting is in the middle of an extensive and exciting makeover that promises to help unleash the true potential of data. People often ask about data speaking for itself. Only unless you understand the language of the data, then it won't speak for itself, because not everyone can speak that language. If you want the data to speak for itself, you have to convert it into a universally understood language using headlines, graphics, and narrative to tell the story revealed by data. A perfect example of failing to communicate important information and insights is NASA's launch of the Challenger space shuttle. Some of the engineers at base had some serious concern. Their calculation and tests showed that there was a serious problem with one of the component, an O-ring, which could potentially fail. Prior to the launch, the engineers reported all the detailed results of their test to decision makers at NASA, with the assumption that they would take one look at the data and abandon the launch. The problem was that the message was not clear. Key facts were hidden in the detail of long reports. As a consequence, the space shuttle was launched, leading to a devastating disaster and the death of 7 crew members, including that of our Kalpana Chawla. So that leads that it is important that any insight are reported in a way that focus on making sure the right people get the right information in the right format, so they can make the right decision more often. Analytics is only useful if target audience understand the information and insights it creates. Traditional reports have been used. They have used various type of graphs and charts to help visualize the results, like bar chart, line, pie, scatter, and so on and so forth. Visualizing the data through charts and graphics can only make the data more accessible and meaningful, but also can better illustrate the relationship between the data. There are clearly many old and new ways to visualize data, but visualization is not the only goal. Beautiful graphics can still be meaningful, or they can be meaningless. We need to package information in a way that tells a story. Some newer options are display maps, display text, display data, display behavior and emotions, display connections, and so on. Business leaders are already struggling to keep up with all the data that come across their desks. So you need to report the results clearly. Don't bury the insight in weighty reports. Big data or any data analytics is only useful if you make sure the right people get the right information in the right format, so they can make the right decision more often. So with that, I will try to conclude that the main purpose of any big data initiative should be to find answers to your most critical unanswered business questions or your smart questions. However, once companies have found sources to answer their critical business questions, they might then use big data to support ongoing operations and business process. Big data and analytics are revolutionizing our lives. Like all revolutions, there are going to be winners and losers. But it's not just as simple as saying that those that have the largest amount of data will win and those that have little won't. At the same time, the hype around big data is simply increasing the stress level for many business leaders because they are already fully aware that they either don't have masses of data or they do have masses of data but absolutely no idea what to do with it. The problem is that data evaluation is happening alongside business as usual, and that can be extremely overwhelming. Smart business is a solution that encourages us all to step back from the hype and noise around data, especially big data, and take stock of where we are trying to get to, and what data and tools we can employ to help us get there. We need to embrace it, operate ethically, deliver value in exchange for the data, and apply its significant benefit for the betterment of our world. Thank you.